when you were thinking about what people like, from where did you get a sense that this is what people like? You said we sat down, we wrote some stuff down on paper. Where is that intuition that seems fundamental to the success of an app like Instagram? Where does that idea, where does that list of three things come from? Exactly.
Only after having studied machine learning now for a couple of years,
Yeah.
I have
You have understood yourself.
I've started to make connections. Like, we can go into this later, but obviously the connections between machine learning and the human brain, I think, are stretched sometimes, right? At the same time, being able to backprop and being able to like look at the world, try something,
Yeah.
figure out how you're wrong, how wrong you are, and then nudge your company in the right direction based on how wrong you are is like a fascinating concept, right? And we didn't know we were doing it at the time, but that's basically what we were doing, right? We put it out to call it 100 people, and you would look at their data. You would say, what are they sharing? What resonates, what doesn't resonate? We think they're going to resonate with X, but it turns out they resonate with Y. Okay, shift the company towards Y. And it turns out if you do that quickly enough, you can get to a solution that has product market fit. Most companies fail because they sit there and they don't, either their learning rate's too slow, they sit there and they're adamant that they're right, even though the data is telling them they're not right, or their learning rate's too high and they wildly chase different ideas and they never actually settle on one where they don't groove, right? Mm-hmm. And I think when we sat down and we wrote out those three ideas, what we were saying is, what are the three possible, whether they're local or global maxima in our world, right, that users are telling us they like because they're using the product that way? It was clear people liked the photos because that was the thing they were doing. And we just said, okay, like, what if we just cut out most of the other stuff and focus on that thing? And then it happened to be a multi-billion-dollar business, and it's that easy, by the way.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, nobody ever writes about neural networks that miserably failed. So this particular neural network succeeded.
They fail all the time, right?
Yeah, but nobody writes
about the default state is failing.
Yes. Yeah. When you said the way people are using the app, is that the loss function for this neural network, or is it also self-report? Like, do you ever ask people what they like, or do you have to track exact what they're doing, not what they're saying?
I once made a Thanksgiving dinner, okay? And it was for relatives, and I like to cook a lot.
Okay.
And I worked really hard on picking the specific dishes, and I was really proud because I had planned it out using a Gantt chart, and like it was ready on time, and everything was hot.
Nice.
Like, I don't know if you're a big Thanksgiving guy, but like the worst thing about Thanksgiving is when the turkey's cold and some things are hot and something. Anyway.
You had a Gantt chart. Did you actually have a chart?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. OmniPlan. Nice. Fairly expensive, like Gantt chart thing that I think maybe 10 people have purchased in the world. But I'm one of them, and I use it for recipe planning only around big holidays.
That's brilliant, by the way. Do people do this kind of...
over-engineering?
It's not over-engineering. It's just engineering. It's planning. Like, yeah. Thanksgiving is a complicated set of events with some uncertainty, with a lot of things going on. You should be planning it in this way. There should be a chart. It's not over.
I mean, so what's funny is, brief aside.
Yes. Brilliant.
I love cooking. I love food. I love coffee. And I've spent some time with some chefs who like know their stuff. And they always just take out a piece of paper and just work backwards in rough order. Like, it's never perfect, but rough order. It's just like, oh, that makes sense. Why not just work backwards from the end goal, right? And put in some buffer time. And so I probably overspecified it a bit using a Gantt chart, but the fact that you can do it, it's what professional kitchens roughly do. Mm-hmm. They just don't call it a Gantt chart, or at least I don't think they do. Right. Anyway, I was telling a story about Thanksgiving. So here's the thing. I'm sitting down, we have the meal, and then I got to know Ray Dalio fairly well over maybe the last year of Instagram. And one thing that he kept saying was like, feedback is really hard to get, honestly, from people. And I sat down after dinner, I said, guys, I want feedback. What was good and what was bad?
Yes.
And what's funny is, like, literally everyone just said everything was great.
Mm-hmm.
And I like personally knew I had screwed up a handful of things. But no one would say it. And can you imagine now, not something as high stakes as Thanksgiving dinner, okay? Thanksgiving dinner, it's not that high stakes.
Mm-hmm.
But you're trying to build a product and everyone knows you left your job for it and you're trying to build it out and you're trying to make something wonderful and it's yours, right? You designed it. Now try asking for feedback and know that you're giving this to your friends and your family. People have trouble giving hard feedback. People have trouble saying, I don't like this, or this isn't great, or this is how it's failed me. In fact, you usually have two classes of people. People who just won't say bad things. You can literally say to them, please tell me what you hate most about this, and they won't do it. They'll try, but they won't. And then the other class of people are just negative, period, about everything. And it's hard to parse out like what is true and what isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So my rule of thumb with this is you should always ask people. But at the end of the day, it's amazing what data will tell you. And that's why with whatever project I work on, even now, collecting data from the beginning on usage patterns, so engagement, how many days of the week do they use it? How many, I don't know, if we were to go back to Instagram, how many impressions per day, right? Is that growing? Is that shrinking? And don't be like overly scientific about it, right? Because maybe you have 50 beta users or something. But what's fascinating is that data doesn't lie.
Mm-hmm.
People are very defensive about their time. They'll say, oh, I'm so busy. I'm sorry I didn't get to use the app. Like I'm just, but I don't know, you were posting on Instagram the whole time. So I don't know, at the end of the day, like at Facebook, there was, before time spent became kind of this loaded term there. The idea that people's currency in their lives is time, and they only have a certain amount of time to give things, whether it's friends or family or apps or TV shows or whatever, there's no way of inventing more of it, or at least not that I know of. If they don't use it, it's because it's not great. So the moral of the story is you can ask all you want, but you just have to look at the data. And data doesn't lie, right?
I mean, there's metrics. There's data can obscure the key insight if you're not careful. So time spent in the app, that's one. There's so many metrics you can put at this, and they will give you totally different insights, especially when you're trying to create something that doesn't obviously exist yet. So, measuring maybe why you left the app, or measuring special moments of happiness that will make sure you return to the app, or moments of happiness that are long lasting versus like dopamine short term, all of those things. But I suppose in the beginning, you can just get away with just asking the question, which features are used a lot? Let's do more of that.